Sudan, a country with a track record of human and women's rights abuse, too horrific to detail. Yet the United Nations has seen fit, in another display of its collective infinite wisdom, to elect Sudan to a human rights panel. Now, I can understand keeping your friends close and your enemies closer, but offering one of the world's worst offenders of human rights a seat at the table of those bound to protect those rights sounds like something only the United Nations could come up with. Christy Kirkup's in our Parliamentary Bureau and is following the story from Ottawa. Hello, Christy.
Good morning, Brian.
Well, how is Canada reacting to the UN electing Sudan to the Human Rights Panel?
Well, this Human Rights Panel, which is the United Nations Economic and Social Council, certainly is a decision that is definitely being criticized by the Canadian government. We have heard from a spokesman for Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird, and he really has expressed outrage over this decision. And in a statement, he said, this is Rick Roth for the Foreign Affairs Minister, he says, this development not only undermines the efforts of those member states that commit to uphold the United Nations fundamental principles, but also the UN institutions themselves. Despite this development, we pledge our unwavering commitment to combat human rights abuses in countries like Sudan. So certainly the Canadian government here is expressing that it is truly unfortunate that the United Nations has opted to elect Sudan to this panel, Brian.
Christy, for our viewers at home who are unsure about this, just what exactly is Sudan's human rights record?
Well, certainly Sudan has a scathing human rights record, as you mentioned. And back in 2009, the International Criminal Court actually issued a warrant, an international warrant, to call for the arrest of the Sudan president, alleging that he had been involved in crimes against humanity and genocide. As well, the United Nations has signaled that more than 300,000 people on the ground have been killed in that armed conflict region. And mostly they have fallen ill due to disease, Brian.
Christy, how are UN watchdogs reacting to this news? They can't be taking it well.
Well, certainly there's a group, they call themselves a UN watchdog. This is UN Watch, and they issued a statement saying that they are absolutely outraged over this decision. And they've actually pointed to the fact that decisions like this one really undermine the credibility of the United Nations as a whole. So certainly this decision is taking a lot of heat, a lot of criticism, Brian.
Christy, last question for you. There are some committees and organizations within the United Nations that have a rotational basis. Is this one of those that basically it's this country's turn to be part of this panel, or is this something different?
Well, certainly this was a decision to elect Sudan, and there are a number of countries, including Western countries, that have been elected to the panel. So it is, if you will, a democratic process. It is an election, but certainly, as I said, there are lots of countries, Western countries, including Canada, that are absolutely outraged that this could even happen, that the tools that are in place to allow for this to even happen in the first place, Brian.